Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett, and today we are going to get into another HTML coding class. In this one, I'm going to show you how to start coding in HTML. We're going to get into the very basics, so note that, but as far as that goes, let's jump on in. Now, first things first, on your computer, find a place where you want to make files. So for me, I just made an entire folder and just label it HTML. And just find a place that you want to put all your files for your new websites. And I hope that you join me on this. So with this in mind, what you need to do is go ahead and make a text file. And simple as that, and we can rename this whatever we want. I'm not really going to focus on that, but if you already downloaded and installed Notepad++, go ahead and edit with Notepad++, or edit it with whatever you want. So first things first is we're going to save this as a HTML page. This is fairly important. What you need to do is go to Save As, and then have that as all, if it does have an all, and then go to the end of the text document and type in .html. Now, before I continue and save this, I want to mention that all HTML web pages, for the file wise, it requires .html or .htm. That's fairly important. It needs to be .html or .html or HTM. The step before here, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like where you have .txt, and that's a text file, simple text file. For HTML, it requires HTML or HTM. We're just going to do HTML because that's the more common than not in here. And just press save. Now, as far as the naming scheme, this would not work that well in a regular environment. The reason why is in order to go to a website and have something as your home page, it needs to be, for this, the actual name of it needs to be default or index. It's fairly important to note this. So, for example, if I just want to make a random website on my computer and I can control it from here. So for example, where I have a random website that I'm, working around, playing around with, what I can do is I can do that and it will work just fine. I can move around and do whatever. And, it works just fine. Like right here where I was doing one for the JavaScript stuff. But for online, for the home page, this would actually have to be named default or index, but it needs to be a HTML file. So when they're saving it for a home page, what would end up happening is let's go back up to all files or all types, default.html or index. The reason for this is just simply that web servers are hard coded to look for either default or index file for the home page. So this is just something very basic, very easy to deal with if you understand that little bit. But the other pages, they could be named whatever. Now here's something that is also important to note with the naming scheme is you may notice on any thing that you go to, it will say, so for example, with this new text document, you have capital letters, lowercase letters, and stuff like that, and even capital letters midway through. Well, here's the thing. If you're on a Windows server, this, no matter how you spell it, no matter how you capitalize it or lowercase it, the spelling, obviously, like how you actually spell new text document, or for in this case, default or index or what it may be, obviously that's very important to itself. But whether it's capital or lowercase, it does not matter. It considers it all the same file. However, on Linux, this is fairly important, it's considered as different files. And it's best to, if you're on pretty much anything, to just lowercase all your stuff if possible. In some programming languages, it doesn't allow you to do that, or in some compilers, it doesn't allow you to do that with some things. However, overall, if available, it's best to just leave things lowercase if and when possible. That way, less problems arise, especially if you're using something like Linux, a Linux web server. Now, why is this important? Well, basically, what happens is if you have something on your web server that's maybe a picture or a movie or whatever it may be, if it is on Linux, the web server that is on Linux, and you'd say, I want to have this given picture pic.png. If in the code you capitalized it, the P for the pic, and in the actual file itself it's lowercase, there's extremely high chance, unless something's changed or depending on the type of version or whatever it may be, overall it will fail. On Windows it shouldn't, but it's for best practices to lowercase everything as far as the code goes, as far as when you have it searching for something or the naming scheme. So now we're finally getting into coding. So as far as one thing you may notice in many websites is they have this doc type. This goes with HTML5, and basically before you had to say the version, whatever, don't worry about that. For HTML5, and I would believe going onward, obviously there's no HTML6 or any further thing, so I can't say for 100% on this, but you're going to have something like this. Well, basically what this does is it says that's HTML, and that's all that's needed. It tells the doc type. So going into a actual browser to show you what I mean by this with doc type is this is a document, and if you go into inspect in most pages, it'll say something like this with doc type HTML. It's just basically telling the browser what it is. That's just something to note. I might get into this in future videos on YouTube, but as far as you need to know, just make sure that says the doc type is HTML. For HTML5, you don't have to specify version or anything like that. Now, as far as the actual HTML page, it's this, the start of the HTML page will have that, and then we have a closer. The thing to note is all of the closer for syntax-wise is going to have a slash, whereas the opener is just simply the carets, as seen there. So what we have here is the head, and it's just an area that you put all the relevant information for the rest of the page. So one of the things that is common is the title, and going into another, like, we can actually save this, and I can show you what the title does. Is if we open up this, we can get the test right here, and that's what the title is. So for example, right here, I didn't change the actual title. Basically, it's just test. And by the way, real quick, so you don't have to write down the code, one great place that you can go, and I'll have this link down below, is you can go to this site. It's HTML validator. Just pretty much go to Google and look it up, and just go down to text field, and you can just copy and paste this and to your document, and that way you don't have to remember, oh, I forgot to buy the or something like that. So it'll automatically be there. Just remember to change test and anything else that you want. So that's just something to note. But the title is basically where up there on, for example, if we're looking at Facebook, you'll say something like Facebook up there or something of that nature. That's basically where the title is. In fact, let me change that to ABC 1 2 3. Let's just change it to ABC and save that. It should have saved it, and as you see here, it changed that to ABC. So the most common thing, and this is a best practice type of thing, is have the title reflect. If the person's on the home page, have the title be the actual website. So for example, if you're running something like Facebook or something like that, you want the title to say Facebook or whatever your site's name is. But then if you're going to have the individual go to, maybe you're a news site, or you're having a person look at some particular thing, what ends up happening is you can actually go ahead and, let me show you with the YouTube stuff, is you can go ahead and take a look at this up here where it says dashboard and the things, and that's YouTube, but it's very common for having like news sites and whatever, where they just post the title of the article in the actual title portion of the site itself for that page. So other things that would be in the head other than title is stuff like JavaScript, stuff like that. But then we have the body itself. The body, what that is what the user sees. So one thing that we can actually write is put normal text. So for example, this is cool, and then go down and we can actually go up and see in here. Cool thing with Windows 10 and I think previous version of Windows, we have a preview of what the website will look like. May not have the functionality, whatever, but it's a preview. And right in that area, we just got that text. Simple as that. So we can add whatever we want right there, and as long as it's saved in whatever, goes right there. So as far as that goes, the thing to note is the actual body itself. It is what the user is going to see, what you're going to see on the actual site itself. Probably what you're going to interact with too. So as far as dealing with looks and whatever, let's get into that. If you go into the body and write out the code, this is one reason why I like Notepad++, is it does autocomplete stuff if available and if it knows it. Whereas if you're just doing normal Notepad, you kind of are stuck. So in this case, we're going to make the heading. And you have, if we put in the opening and just start typing, it'll try to autocomplete. For heading, we have, and this is how you write is H1. So there's 1 through 6. The difference is 1 is the biggest, so we're going to do H1 and do a close on that. And let's say that this is H1. And then we're going to do H6. This is H6. I might actually throw a H3 so you can actually see what a H3 is. Oops. And let's just throw in H3 so you can get an idea what this stuff looks like. Alright, and let's save that. And as you see here, H1 is the biggest. This would be considered to most to be like the title of the page or a title of an article or something like that. And then we get smaller and smaller and smaller, where this is almost like normal text, or smaller than normal text, but bold very thickly. So the thing to note here is you can actually change how things look by using code. Note that all we change is which heading we use, whether it being H1 being the first, H3 being the middle, or H6 being the last. But again, the biggest is going to be the first, which H1 or heading 1, and the smallest you're going to get is H6 or heading 6. It's very important to note this as you're designing the page and making the overall page. So what about normal text? So this is great in all the knowing the heading. This is great in all. I'm going to take out these two. So, well, actually, let's just keep them for example. But for normal text, what we want to do is do a P, a simple P. Let's open it and say this is normal text, and then just do a closing P. And if we save this, you can see that the normal text is bigger than H6, about the same size as H3, maybe a little bit smaller, but you can tell that there's a massive difference. It's basically the heading, it's bold, and there's a little bit of a difference in the look. So as far as news articles and stuff like that, you might notice that they use something around maybe H1, maybe H2, heading 1, heading 2, depending on the news site and what type of formats they're going for. But the normal text, some politicians slept with someone else, that is going to be in normal text. That's going to be in the paragraph text. It's very important to note that. Keep in mind this stuff was made way back when, and it's still used today. Now, before I forget, the thing I want to note is, let's say for some people, I can easily see this happening, is you're writing a paragraph, or you might want to write the entire article. Fine. Well, you might do something like this, and here is more text, so like maybe a second paragraph or something like that. Well, what's going to end up happening is it's just going to add it on to that. So to solve that, so what you got to do is do another, and it throws it right below. So we can do the second line is something like this. Let's close that off, and looking at that, so you can see it's right below. So if you want to write multiple paragraphs, or want to have like do something like an enter or something like that, it will look something like this, where you'll separate out with the paragraphs. Keep in mind, with paragraphs, normal paragraphs, when you're writing a paper, you're not going to have to press enter somewhere in the middle of that paragraph. A teacher will, if you're in school, will grade you badly, or your boss will fire you for that, or at least fuss at you for that. But the end of the paragraph, so the start of the paragraph would be here, the end of the paragraph is here. That's how you need to treat this as far as the paragraph text. So whenever you see this, if you want to have some additional text right below it, you needed to open up in there paragraph and write whatever text you want. So what happens if you want to align something center, right, left, whatever? And this is useful if you're maybe writing a scientific paper and just doing all in HTML for some reason, or whatever it may be, or making a website where people can upload their scientific paper, but the title of it and all that stuff's normally center on it, so it kind of looks normal and consistent between all papers to make it easier for the viewer. Well, what would end up happening is within the opener of anything, so for example with the paragraph or header, you would do a align equals, and then if you want it center, you just say center. If you want it right, you say right. You can do align left, but I don't personally, because it should automatically align. But if you want to guarantee it left for some weird reason, there's something pulling it more to the center or whatever, then that would technically fix it. But again, realistically, it's just going to align left anyway, so it's kind of a waste doing that. So, but it's cool. So as far as that goes, so lastly, what I'm going to show is the actual format on how things look. And a thing to note is, so I had one extra them, sorry about that. To add into here, I want to mention that this is what a comment looks like. To open a comment, you need to have that as far as the opener. The closure will look like that. I expect that you already know the benefits of having a comment, whatever. But a thing to note within this comment is this is what you'll need to get whatever you want. So for example, I want normal to be bold, as you see here. And if let's actually just open that up. As you see here where it's bolded. Well, I want that to be bold, and as far as that goes, I'll just put the B. But if I want to do like important text or italicize or whatever it may be, I can actually do that. It's right there. This is fairly basic stuff, but go ahead and try this, and you can look up the formats for this. But in the description, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and paste this into here. If you're on Udemy, if there's enough room in the description, I'm going to paste that in, so you can actually go ahead and use it if you want. But as far as that goes, this is just how to get the overall basic layout, the font, and a few other things, and how to get started into here. As far as that goes, hope you have a great day.